Another really interesting thing that I found once I started to investigate this stuff is the early Zionists were absolutely honest about their goals. They talked about being colonialists. You're not even supposed to say that. People will say that you're anti-Semitic if you say they're colonialists. Sorry, my
No,
mouth is
you're
dry.
fine.
But but they openly talked about that. Zev Jabotinsky was the revisionist Zionist leader, and in one of his famous speeches called the Iron Wall, I believe that's the one, he openly talks about being colonialists. They talk about, the leaders will talk about, yes, we're taking the Arabs' land, and because we're colonialists, and we're going to do it no matter what. They're just going to have to deal with it. I mean, they were very open about that. One thing that I should have mentioned is really the first signs of the Zionist movement. The first real changes came in the mid 1800s when the Rothschild banking family decided to start buying land in Palestine.
Mhm.
And there were what they call absent tenant landowners, Arab landowners. They bought some of the land from them, and then people who had farmed on it for years and whatnot, they of course kicked them out and started sending their people over little by little, and just started taking over more and more and more. And of course, the Rothschilds had so much money that
Yeah.
it was pretty easy for them to do. And the Rothschilds, in fact, in the modern times, they paid for the Knesset, the actual Knesset you see all the time. They paid for a national library, memorial gardens. They've put so much money into Israel. It's just unbelievable. And I think most people aren't aware of that.
Yeah, no, just for clarity for everybody, if you're not familiar with what the Knesset is, effectively it's like our Capitol Hill
Yeah.
for all intents and purposes. It's their version of it. Their governance structure is a little different than ours because they have a prime minister instead of a president, but that's effectively their Capitol Hill. Now, one of the things too with, and I was told this by someone else, I want to just bounce this off you and see if this was an accurate statement or an inaccurate statement. It seems like this last time when Netanyahu actually was elected, he actually was kind of riding in on this new wave of religious party that has kind of come to power, who really has, especially a few of them, I want to say it's like the equivalent of their defense minister. He seems to be very outspoken, especially in like wanting to take back the Temple Mount.
Yeah.
Is that an accurate statement? And by all means, dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a push to take the Temple Mount back. There is several organizations, and I'm blanking on the main one, that actually have there's tunnels under the Temple Mount, and they've already got this seat for the elders ready to go. They've got it all decorated and
Is
ready
it the
to
Temple Institute?
Temple Institute. Thank you
Okay.
very much.
Yeah, no
Yeah, and
problem.
there's a couple others that work with them, but that's the main one for
Yeah.
sure. And, yeah, there's a push for that. And I told my wife, I said, if you ever see the Al Aqsa Mosque blow up, you know that, I mean, I'm not saying it's end times, but there's going to be a holy war like you've never seen in modern times for sure. But they're definitely wanting to do that. And yeah, Bibi, he's in the Likud party, if I remember correctly, the Likud party. And that was started by, or at least uh, influenced by the guy I mentioned earlier, Ziev Jabotinsky. He was a guy from Poland. I mean, hardly any of the leaders there are from the Middle East. Most of these guys are Eastern Europeans from different places. And Ziev was he was the guy who said we need to take Israel by force. And he was kind of competing with David Ben Gurion, who was more of a socialist, he wanted to do it at least diplomatically, quasi diplomatically. But Jabotinsky was like, we're going to do it. He actually had his troops trained because he was a big fan of fascism. This sounds crazy, but it's absolutely true. I've got
Mm.
Jabotinsky's a book about him. It's a pro Jabotinsky book, but his troops went over to Italy and trained on one of Mussolini's bases. They actually would call Jabotinsky the Jewish Mussolini. But that being said, the Likud party is a right-leaning party, and more right than our conservative party here. It's
Wow.
yeah, but
How do they keep
they're not
standing
the
up?
worst.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. But they're not the worst ones. There's I believe I can't remember the actual name in Hebrew, but it's something like the Israel Power Party. It translates in English. And so those two parties, this last time, they joined together. And that party has some of these hardcore rabbis who are, they're basically supremacists. They're Jewish supremacists. There's no other way to say it.